Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and demystify the so-called magic behind AI. We're going to shift you away from just casually chatting with a bot and get you into reliable, enterprise-grade prompt engineering. Look, we all know that feeling, right? Staring at a blinking cursor, typing in a request, and basically just crossing your fingers. Well, today we're replacing hope with actual strategy.
So let me ask you, why do your AI outputs sometimes sound, kind of robotic, generic, or just slightly off? If you've been burning money on expensive wrapper tools only to get copy-pasted sounding text in return, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention to this. Because here's the secret. It usually isn't a problem with the AI itself. It's a problem with how we're talking to it.
Take this fascinating story from entrepreneur Marius Ursake. He had a friend, a startup CMO, who was literally spending hundreds of dollars a month on all these AI writing subscriptions, and he was still struggling to get a consistent brand voice. So during a quick phone call, Marius just had him paste a few of his own best product descriptions directly into a standard base-level AI model, along with some really specific instructions. The CMO's reaction? He immediately realized the output was way better than anything his expensive tools were giving him, and he canceled them on the spot. The magic wasn't in the shiny software. The whole shebang was just good prompting. We have a packed agenda today. We're going from the prompting magic trick into mastering prompt frameworks, looking at the power of few-shot examples, dialing in your hyperparameters, diving into a real-world healthcare AI fix, and wrapping it all up with your prompt engineering playbook. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the prompting magic trick, and how it unlocks AI. Let's see how this all builds from a really simple premise that's kind of been hiding in plain sight. The absolutely crucial point here is that the underlying large language models are essentially the exact same for everyone. Whether you're using a base model from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, or some fancy $200 a month interface layered on top of them, the engine under the hood is identical. What does that mean for us? It means the quality of your output is entirely dependent on the structure of your input. You don't need a specialized tool, you literally just need better instructions. Moving to Section 2, mastering the prompt frameworks, specifically RACE and PICO. Because to get structured outputs, we need structured inputs. These frameworks act as blueprints to make sure you don't miss any critical details. First up is the RACE framework, detailed by Vendy Digital. This gives B2B marketers a really rigorous blueprint for AI tasks. It stands for role, action, context, and execute. First, you define the AI's identity, something like, you are a seasoned B2B marketer. Then the action, draft an email sequence. Next, you give it context, providing background on your target audience. And finally, you execute by providing strict formatting guidelines, like asking for a 300-word limit with a specific call to action. Now, academics have also studied this heavily and synthesized their findings into the PICO framework. It's incredibly similar to RACE, but adds some really necessary guardrails. PICO stands for persona, instructions, context, constraints, and output. The major game changer here is constraints. This is where you explicitly tell the AI what not to do. It sets the boundaries so things don't go off the rails. Put them side by side, and you see a universal language emerging. Whether you use RACE or PICO, the underlying philosophy is identical. Define an identity, detail the action, provide background, and demand a specific format. When you use these frameworks, you stop treating the AI like a magic 8-ball, and you start treating it like a smart employee who just needs a proper project brief. All right, Section 3, the power of few-shot. Remember the golden rule, show, don't tell. Because even the absolute best instructions fail if you only tell the AI what to do. This brings us to our next secret weapon. Since AI models are essentially just giant pattern-matching machines, showing them 2 to 3 pristine examples of exactly what you want works exponentially better than writing a giant 500-word essay explaining it. This is called few-shot prompting. A shot is just an industry term for an example. Think about the real-world difference here. Zero-shot prompting is what most casual users do. They just say, write a product description. That leaves the machine completely guessing your intent. Few-shot prompting, on the other hand, says, write a product description, and hey, here are 3 examples of my absolute best past descriptions. This forces the AI to lock onto your exact style, your sentence length, and your tone. It completely bridges the gap between what's in your head and what the machine spits out. But, and this is a big but, as Marius Ursake points out from his experiments, you've got to avoid some common traps.
If you provide examples that contradict each other, like say one is super formal and the next is super casual, the AI gets totally confused. Actually, even if your examples are too similar, that's a problem too, because the AI assumes it can only write about that one extremely narrow topic. And crucially, if you don't explain why an example is good, like pointing out that each one starts with a customer pain point, the AI might just miss the actual pattern you wanted it to copy in the first place.
Section 4, dialing in the hyperparameters. Because once your written prompt is perfect, you actually get to adjust the machine's internal dials. Let's take control. Let's look at a key dial called temperature. As the academic literature explains, temperature essentially dictates how adventurous the AI is allowed to be when guessing the very next word, or token. It reshapes the probability distribution of the AI's vocabulary. So, the practical takeaway is this. If you want wildly creative poetry or out-of-the-box brainstorming, crank that temperature up. It lets the AI pick less obvious words. But if you're analyzing patient data, crunching numbers, or summarizing a strict legal document, you want that temperature as low as possible. A low temperature makes the output highly predictable, highly factual, and drastically reduces the chance of the AI hallucinating and making things up.
Similarly, there's another dial right next to it called top P, sometimes called nucleus sampling. While temperature changes the probability of the words, top P acts as a strict filter on the actual pool of words the AI is even allowed to look at. A lower top P setting slices off the top of the probability list, giving you laser-focused output. A higher setting opens the gates for wide variability. By controlling temperature and top P alongside a great structured prompt, you are 100% in the driver's seat. Let's make this totally concrete in Section 5, Real-World Fixing Healthcare AI. We're going to take all this theory, the frameworks, the examples, the dials, and see it applied to a massive crisis, solved by the applied AI experts over at DeepSense AI.
So, DeepSense had a client running a global digital healthcare platform that connects 90 million patients. Massive scale. Their problem? They had an AI voice bot meant to automate doctor appointments, but it was just completely unstable. It kept hallucinating available dates, forgetting the context of the call, and just dropping patients. Why? Because the underlying system was lazily concatenating the entire patient conversation into one massive, unstructured prompt over and over again. It was chewing up tokens and totally failing. The fix was a total prompt overhaul, introducing explicit memory and highly targeted, concise prompts using the exact principles we've just covered. The results of tightening up those prompts were honestly immediate. By rewriting the system prompts from scratch, adding those strict PICO guardrails, and abandoning those massive context dumps, token usage just plummeted. They went from burning over 30,000 tokens per call down to roughly 3,000. That is a massive, massive reduction in computing cost. And check out the direct impact on the user experience. Because the prompts were fully structured and the token count was slashed, the API response latency dropped a staggering 10x. The median call time went from a laggy, awkward 5 seconds down to a snappy 0.5 seconds. It made the voice bot feel instantly responsive and totally natural for the patient. But here is the bottom line, the reason this matters to the business. The ultimate result of this precise prompt engineering and careful control was that the successful appointment booking rate doubled. It went from a dismal 10% conversion rate right up to 20%. Better prompts literally resulted in double the revenue-generating appointments for these clinics. No new models, just better instructions. Wrapping things up with Section 6, your prompt engineering playbook. Here are the golden rules you can deploy right now. Now that you know the so-called magic of AI is really just providing a structured framework like PICO, giving 2 to 3 crystal clear few-shot examples, and dialing in the right temperature for the job. What chaos are you going to bring under control today? Seriously, what mind-numbing repetitive task is sitting on your desk right now that you could automate flawlessly with the right prompt? Take these tools, test them out this afternoon, and see the difference for yourself.